Welcome to South Florida Saltwater Fishing. I'm Heath, and today I'm going to go over with you a common rig that is used off of piers. It's used for deep dropping, it's used for on the reef. It's a very versatile rig. Some people call it a chicken rig, some people call it a high-low rig, some people call it a deep drop rig. So yeah, that's what we're going over today, and I'm going to show you how to do it using a knot called a dropper loop. Now hold on, bear with me 2 seconds. Sometimes you will see people tie these rigs with these things. This is a 3-way swivel. We're not doing that with this. I'm going to show you how to use it with just your leader. Alright, so again, chicken rig, high-low rig, deep drop rig, whatever you may want to call it, it's perfectly fine. And we're going to do it with a knot called a dropper loop, which I'll show you. That is basically the once you learn how to tie called the dropper loop, you'll see that you can use that in many different applications. So to begin with, you're going to want to tie your sinker on at the bottom. So this is a 6-ounce sinker. So let's say I was using a 6-ounce sinker and I had with sort of no loop on it, but I want to get it through there. I could just, I could thread my line through my sinker like so, and then I could just tie it onto it. Or let's say you've got a bigger sinker like this. Let's pretend we'll use this. Let's pretend we're going kind of deep. We're going to go 200 or 300 feet. You're going to want a bigger sinker. This is 1 pound of lead. This is 16 ounces. What I would do is I'll just tie a surgeon's knot so I can have a loop at the bottom of my rig. So a surgeon's knot is simple. You make a loop. I've got a loop. You're going to make another loop with that. You're going to take this end of it and you're going to put it through it twice. Like that's the knot you tie on your shoelace. It's called an overhand knot. You're going to do 2 of those, and this is called a surgeon's knot. This is the knot they use on you when they tie stitches. And you pull that tight, so you end up with a loop. All right. So you take your surgeon's knot and you put it through the eye of your weight. And you bring it around and oops, getting hung up there, and then you sort of just back it in like that and it'll hang like that. Now if you ever get tangled up, you can just reverse what you just did and you take the weight off, or if you want to switch your weight out, it comes right off. But for right now, for tying it on, I'm just going to go on ahead and leave it on. Pardon me, I'm a bit unprepared, but that's fishing. Expect the unexpected. So I'll trim up my tag end here. Now we're going to get into dropper loop. You go up about a foot. Usually when you're doing a high-low rig, you want like a minimum of like 3. So we're going to go over a dropper loop. To make a dropper loop, you take your line. This would be the main end, this would be the bottom, called the tag end, and you're going to make a loop. So essentially I have this end, and I've made a circle in my hands. So what you're going to do is you're going to take it like this in your thumb, and you're going to wrap it around, and you're going to leave this space in the middle. You're going to wrap it around like 5 or 6 times. And essentially what you're doing is you're creating clinch knots on either side of this. If you can see the clinch knot in the loop here, you can also see the clinch knot in the loop here. Now, you will take the single strand, which is this, and you're going to separate your 2 pieces that you have left right there, and you're going to stick it right in between them. this is the tricky part. You need some tension to kind of do it. So I put it in my mouth and pull on it, and then you pull it tight. You end up with that. And that is called a dropper loop. Very strong knot. It's essentially like threading two knots together, or threading two lines together. I apologize. Now, two cool things you can do with this is you can take your loop that you've created and you can feed it through the eye of your hook. By the way, I'm using 40-pound test just as a leader for this, because that's probably what I would do is if I was going deep enough for, you know, like, I don't know, amberjack, something like that. You could end up with this. You use this rig on a wreck sometimes. So you put the loop through there and you do the same thing you would do with your sinker. Loop it around and it's on. That way if you get hung up, if it gets tangled or anything, you can just remove the hook. You back it out from itself and you remove the hook and it'll pop right off, and then you can get your tangle undone and go right back to fishing. Now, another cool thing about this dropper loop is you can come to one end of this loop and you can actually clip it off. It's not going to come undone. You've threaded two lines together. Now you have this. So you can essentially take your hook after you've got this tag end, which is from two lines. And you take that and then you'll tie a clinch knot on, which will give you a little bit length of getting away from your rig line. So let me tie it and I'll show you what's going on. So we're going to tie a basic clinch knot. So there's a clinch knot. We'll trim off the tag end. So this is what you'll end up with. So I've got my sinker, which will be at the bottom. This is my first hook, which is about, it's about 2 feet up. So this is up in the water column. It's not on the floor of the ocean. You can catch pompano off the pier with this. You can catch a million grunts on the reef. You can catch amberjack. You can catch tuna. Actually, I've seen somebody catch a tuna on a drift boat using a chicken rig. So again, and like I said, I've seen amberjack caught on these things. So that's two methods of how to hook up your hook to your line. I like this method because it sort of gets, like I was saying, it gets my hook away from my rig. The current's going, your sinker's over there, your current's over here, and your bait's a little bit further away. So again, let me show you another dropper loop. We take our line, you make a loop, okay? You want to go with the single strand around it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, we've done our 7 wraps just like we would in a clinch knot. Then you're going to take the single strand and you're going to stick it through that middle piece, create some tension, and then you pull on both ends and it tightens it up for you. And you essentially end up with 2 clinch knots on either side of that loop. Now you get why the name is dropper loop. So then you can just come back. This is a quick rig to tie, and it catches literally everything. Come through, you feed your line through the eye of your hook, wrap it back around, and there you go. you're on. You can actually make this go further up and wrap it around itself instead of just on the shank. So it provides, the tighter the fish pulls, the tighter your knot gets. So that's the basics of a dropper loop and creating a chicken rig. This is what you have. You have your weight at the bottom, your hooks, and I'm not going to tie another one on. And then you would, what you do is you, up here at the end of your rig, you tie another swivel and you hook that onto your main line of your fishing pole. So up here we got our main line of our fishing pole. Down here we got our weight. What happens is, weight lands in the bottom, current pulls it. Boat's back there. Main line's coming down here. So you have bait up in the water column, away from, so you see what happens when you've got just a dropper loop, how close it is to your line. When you use it and you trim off the loop and you tie it with a clinch knot, it's further away. The current's taking your hook away. That's how this dropper loop works. That's the physics of it. That is what's going on under the water when the current is pulling your line. Again, you can use this for deep dropping, tilefish, snowy grouper. You can use it on the wrecks, amberjacks. Mutton snapper might not go after it. It's a lot of hardware, but groupers definitely will. Amberjack, like I've said for the 5th time. Any assortment of reef fish. It catches multiple fish at a time. It's a very strong rig. Use it on the piers for pompano. And yeah, like I said, chicken rig, high-low rig, deep drop rig, very versatile, very strong. So yeah, learn it. It comes in handy. You might think, oh, that's just a pier guy thing whenever they're fishing, but it's not. Everybody uses it. You'll find it. You'll find out when it's useful for you. So, that's that for today. I'm Heath, and this is South Florida Saltwater Fishing. I'll see you out on the water sometime soon. Tight line.